Hi, I'm here. My name's Lenka Janiurek, and I'm here to talk about my memoir Watermarks to you. So welcome to my humble abode in West Wales, Croeso, a little fisherman's cottage. The thing was built out of the stones from the knockdown abbey, yeah, it's all these houses used to be pubs. Apparently the front rooms was hard for the fishermen to actually get home because they were busy going in to each house. It's more full of ladies and different kinds of people now. I wanted to say, yeah, I've written a memoir called Watermarks, and it's kind of messy, wet and dry. It's called Life, Death and Swimming for a reason. At first, I really want to thank Lingham's, Bookish, Booker and Forum Books for organising this At Home with Four Indies event, and particularly because my dad was actually a bookseller, so I kind of grew up in a bookshop, so I kind of know what they smell like from the back. Yeah, I'm going to read a little bit and kind of try to explain why on earth I've been writing a book about myself. This is it, by the way. There you go, that's me skipping, or holding my skipping rope, looking a bit grumpy. I've got 4 kids, and my youngest daughter, I used to be a playwright before really I had kids, and when my little boys were quite small, and worked in the theatre. So I have been feeling sympathy for actors the last half hour, thinking, oh gosh, you know, now I'm having to do this. So I had experience. I wrote 5 plays and had them on in different theatres in London very, very long time ago. And my youngest daughter, as she was getting ready to leave home, just said, you know, I hope this is, are you there? Yeah, okay. I hope you can hear me. Try another way of going live during your broadcast. I hope this is working. Is it working? Okay. What are you on there? Sat H. Hello? I hope I'm on there. If you can hear me, perhaps let me know, because there's little messages going on there and I'm not sure if it's working. But I shall carry on. Are you on there, Sat H, it says to Louise Taylor Kennett, who I'm not sure. Yeah, we can hear you. Cool, fine, thanks a lot for that. Tanya, good for you. I can carry on waffling here. That's fine. Okay, so my youngest daughter, she was getting ready to leave home, and she was just thinking, Mum, get on with writing your book. Your actual life is ridiculous. You need to write it. So I was like, no way am I going to do that, because it's so, I have had a fairly up and down kind of life, and I thought I don't want to do a Knausgard and write loads of you know, volumes of it. And she's quite a incisive person, my youngest daughter, and so she just kept on. And then one day I had the idea of actually just remembering moments around water, and I thought, oh, okay, I can do that. I can go through my quite strange life through water. So to illustrate that, I'm going to read a little bit. Hello, Anne Field from Northwest UK. Hello. I'm going to read a little bit of the very beginning, really. Each chapter of this book has got a kind of water theme. And the first one is My Mother's Water's Breaking. So I'll just read a little bit to get you kind of in the mood of possibly what I'm talking about. So this chapter is called Submerged. I slip out to my mother bellowing. I taste blood. There is air all of a sudden, a gasping shock like crawling out of the primeval swamp with fins and gills and webbed feet. Air is too much for me, and it's not. The light bulb light cuts into me like ice. I've emerged and it's all shocking and strange. The taps are on full in the bathroom. They cut us apart. I'm slippery. They dry me. I'm a girl. They wrap me up too tight, but it loosens. They bathe my mother's face with a flannel. There's a glass of water on the bedside table reflecting the light. There are tears in my mother's eyes. She stares and stares into my face. Hello, you. Hello, little one. A tall shape like a shadow of my father stands by the window. It's raining, splattering the window panes, and it's dark. In the future, I'll give birth to children myself. In pregnancy, I will swim, letting the water bear the increasing weight and form. Proud of my shape as I pull myself up out of the water, seal slick. Training in breath work, preparing for the marathon of birth. Up and down the pool I will swim, counting, growing. In transition, that worrying limbo between the cervix being fully open and being allowed to push, I'll want to cross my legs and go home and want them all to go away. I'll throw a bloody pad across the room and the nurse in short white wellies will look shocked. But in my mind, I feel my baby might turn out to be a fish or a monkey. And then everyone will know I'm not human after all. So that's just a taste of the first chapter. I'm going to have to do a spoiler thing. Hello from Oswestry, Tracy. Which is that my mother died when I was 9. So that's always marked me. And I think my journey of writing this book has been exploring really the kind of alienation that I've felt really all my life, and how I've kept turning back to water. That's kept being a constant in my life, to the extent that I go swimming. I've been swimming in the sea twice today, and it just hits the spot. I wonder if you'd prefer me to just go on reading, or if you'd like me to talk some more, or what, really? Quite happy to go on reading, really. Anyone got any feelings about that? I think I'm just going to read, if that's okay. So this one is called The Beck. I grew up in York, and in Yorkshire, a stream is called a beck. My mum died 4 months ago. We've driven Tartanley Hole in the car. It's a Triumph Herald light blue 7761DN. My father passed his driving test last year. We're on the edge of the Yorkshire moors. There's a rug, grass, sheep, and there's shiny black pellets. The picnic, and my father is flat out snoring on the rug. My feet are in the beck, as streams are called here. My brothers are involved in an army game which involves stalking through the bracken, lying down, shouting and pointing sticks at each other. They're on manoeuvres. My sisters are giggling and fiddling with the glove compartment. I wonder if there's chocolate in there. I don't care, but they beckon me over. I'm always a sucker for being included by my sisters. I think of them as the navy one and the light blue one. The very oldest and the second oldest, and it's hard for me being the 5th child. Singly, I worship them. My navy sister has peacock feathers and velvet curtains in her bedroom. It's also got a bath in it. Her hair is blue-black and bushy. Her eyes are shoe-polished, dark brown. She sometimes lets me ride on her back on the bedclothes when she doesn't want to get up in the morning, and sometimes she just tells me to piss off. She has her own record player and listens to Bob Dylan, the Incredible String Band, and she lets me read John Lennon in his own right with Good Dog Nigel, which I pronounce Niggle. She has an Aubrey Beardsley poster of Salome that I covet. My light blue sister lets me talk to her when she's in the bath. Her skin is milky. She's like a bigger version of me, but not, because she is womanly. I get her clothes handed down. She prefers Paul to John in the Beatles. She's terrified of dogs, more than I am. She screams. And we sat on top of the piano when we briefly got a dachshund that we called Bilbo Baggins. He never stopped barking, and they smell when you're frightened. So he had to go to another family. Unfortunately, when my sisters are together, they're horrible, and they work as a double act. I must explain here that in Polish, my father's dad is Tutter. It's Polish for dad. So here we are, my two blue-coloured sisters. My mother's just died 4 months previously. Did you know Tata has a girlfriend? My Navy sister now says, unbelievably. She's always straight out with things. What? Of course he hasn't. What can I say? Are they teasing me? That's what you think, but he has. And we've got proof. My light blue sister likes saying we, meaning not me. They giggle and there's a lot of eyebrow raising. They do this a lot these days, but well, no one would want to be his girlfriend. And what about Mum? Well, he has. Do you want to see her? Do you want to know what she's called? Don't tease me. What do you mean, see her? It's too much for me to think she might have a name. Why would you think we've made this up? He told us. He always tells us everything first. What? What? He told us all about her. Honestly. I don't believe you. Look at this book, then. What's that got to do with it? Tata can't have a girlfriend. He can. And he has, look, a black and white book jacket. Photographs of a straight-haired woman with a lot of teeth. I wish my feet were still in the stream. That's her. It can't be true. The woman is 23, it says on the cover. My father is 48. My father has 6 children and a dead wife. My father still has black hair. He's lean, tall. I would not say my father is handsome, but other people might. He's going to tell you all about her. He wants us to meet her. Don't be silly, you must have made it up, all of it. You'll see, he hasn't told the others yet, but we thought you'd like to know. My father grunts in his sleep next to the bracken. It can't be possible that he's got a girlfriend in the same way he told us about the leukemia in stages. Oldest, the girls first, then the boys, then us, the little ones later. I've leapfrogged into knowledge I don't believe or want or understand. Fathers can't have girlfriends. There's some chocolate in the glove compartment. My Navy sister opens it boldly, snaps it, breaking all the rules. There's a silence. There are sheep, the sounds of warfare in the bracken. A car goes past. A family floats by looking bored out of the windows, and I envy them. I envy their boredom and the fact that they all fit in the car without anyone having to sit in the boot, the fact that there are 2 parents looking bored. I look at the pictures of S. I don't want to, but now I have to. Then I go back to the stream, back to building my own private dam. My feet are waterlogged and freezing. Tata wakes up and shouts at the boys. He tells us before bed that a good woman called S, is coming to stay and meet us next weekend. She's coming from London. We might like to go and collect her at the station. We might have steak and ice cream for supper. There's no mention of girlfriends. I pretend not to listen or really care what he says. My little brother speaks out of the dark after Tata has turned off the light and we've listened to his footsteps going downstairs. He says, we might be allowed cider. We never have steak, I say. I think it can be a bit rubbery, chewy, he sighs. Well, it's obviously ridiculous, it won't last. My little brother still sucks his thumb. There's a knobble on his knuckle from it. He's 7. My Navy sister is 16. There we are. So that is the next little, probably big shift in my life, that I got my first stepmother, and I'm still trying to explore how to make sense of it all, really. Hello people, I'm sorry Sarah Hunter, she's saying that the video keeps cutting out. That must be really annoying. I don't know if I can do anything about it though. I really feel that I've done lots of different things in my life and been to lots of places and had quite messy relationships, and this memoir is a kind of document of the last 6 decades really, growing up, trying to grow up anyway, some relationships. It's got some fairly ghastly men in it, I'm afraid, and it comes right into the present day. But as I said, it's kind of really marked by water all the way through. So the next little extract I want to read is from a chapter called The Red Bowl, and it's a little time on. My father did marry S, and it wasn't a happy marriage. So sadly, this small domestic act of swishing mugs round in the red bowl for my brother to dry, this is his designated chore, makes me see that it's the red bowl that's in the middle. Like a mother, except it's a bowl. When you're ill, it's get the red bowl, pass me the red bowl, I feel sick. And after the retching, the stringy bile or the full lumpy vomiting, empty the red bowl and slush it out with Dettol. I'm cleaning out the fridge of get the red bowl. We'll need to bathe that knee. It looks like a nasty cut with a bit of grit in it. Let's get the red bowl with some warm water. And it's always there, the bowl, the phrase. Making life continue, making it all go right again. Allowing rinsing and cleaning and washing and dabbing and disinfecting, and it'll all be all right, get the red bowl. How can this be, I think, as I drearily shuffle the cups around in warm soapy water. How pathetic that I no longer have anything like a mother, that this house is no longer a home, that in the future visiting anyone else's house I'll offer to wash up and take extra care to clean their washing up bowl, red, yellow, blue, green or otherwise, wiping the bottom carefully, clearing scum away, that I'll clean round their taps, rinse onto their drying racks, that I'll even clean their soap dishes and the rimed saucers under their plates, plants, all in the same sad spirit of making everything all right, cleaning up, washing it out, giving it a rinse. And it's the red bowl still in my heart, in my head, in my sub, and super consciousness at the centre, like the mother I no longer have. And how offensive is that, to even think of equating my dead of leukemia mother with a washing up bowl? But it has come to that. We still go to the cemetery sometimes with Tutter. He takes a trowel and weeds round the rose bush. The headstone is already sunk and slightly askew. My father makes a great performance of going to the tap, using one of the watering cans there. My poker brother stands beside the tap pretending he's pissing as the water spurts out. He's always looking for comedy, even when it isn't there. The sound of the water in the watering can is forlorn. It's like the water itself is dying. The graveyard is flat. There's no church. There are soldiers buried here in anonymous rows with plastic poppies. We water the earth between the headstone and the grass, covering my mother in her coffin. My father says nothing apart from mumbling, "Pray for your mother." I try to talk to Mummy silently because I find I can't pray for my mother. I can't help thinking she doesn't really need my prayers for her, now she's in heaven. I need her prayers for me now and for all of us down here. I think that she's the only person who would understand this thought and not be shocked by it. There we go. So I don't know if you, Sarah Hunter, still seems to be having a problem, which I'm sorry about. I wonder if it'd be good to talk about writing what is called life writing, writing about yourself and why you would do it and what it can bring to others and why to share it. And I feel that it's actually very important to share our stories in any way that we curate them. It's not therapy. Therapy is therapy. That's something else. Writing is a creative process. And it is a way of enjoying all the mess, all the glory, and exploring. And I feel that I'm probably one of those people who needs to write. Oh, thank you. I think the red bowl must have felt like a constant in your life, and that in turn it must have been comforting. Actually, now I've got a turquoise washing up bowl. I was just thinking. I think that today happens to be National Writing Day. Just noticed that. And I would like to just say that I would encourage anyone, whoever you are, however old or young or shy or not shy you are, to write, to begin writing. You might throw it away, you might never share it or show it, you know, but I think it's critical, especially at this time, that we don't undervalue creativity and the dance of it, the joy of it, you know. I feel really particularly strongly now we're all in our little kind of COVID world. I mean, we're still in a pretty severe lockdown here in Wales. That it's a new shift. It's another realm. But for me, beauty, we have to hold on to the beauty. It's just, and we have to hold on to the memories that we have of darkness too, and play with them. And I think that I suppose I would probably admit that it can be cathartic, but I think it's a mistake to think that it's just instead of therapy or something. So I just wanted to really say that to people. Write what you feel in whatever form. And I mean, you can do things really freestyle nowadays, you know, you don't even have to use punctuation, you know, you can do what you want. Just write. I would love to write another play, and then the theatres are all closed. Whoa, what's that about? But hey, you know, we're creative and adaptive creatures. We have to shape shift in a way. And so I'm kind of trying to wrestle with that and embrace that struggle, and some days are more difficult than others. I'm going to read another little bit, which is a little bit further on in my life, and it's set in Brighton. There's a sort of sense that I don't know if I want to kind of spoil things, but by letting you into some of it. Some of this book is very dark and very raw. I mean, like, there is a chapter called Blood, there is a chapter called Sweat, and there are some harsh things that happen in it. But I do hope that it's a homage to the elements, particularly in this case water. Anyway, this is a little bit further down the line, and it's called Pier, and here we go. We go to the pier in Brighton, Mary and I. We're both trying to navigate the rubble created by divorces. We're 15 and have coincidentally both moved from the north to the south. We're trying to settle down and fit in and fulfil our potentials and have fun. I have some weak grass and Mary has half a bottle of whiskey, and these are secreted at the back of the cupboard in her bedroom. Mary is now the one person I know outside my family who knows all the characters in my life. She knows S, she knows my dad, she knew my mother, so I don't have to explain anything or anyone. Mary used to come to my mother's nursery school in the front room, and we fought over a tricycle. Once I refused to come downstairs because Mary was in the house. My mother forced me to change into a dress out of my beloved shorts to go to tea at Mary's house, and after much screaming and cross hairbrushing and being dragged there, who was wide-eyed and wearing shorts herself? Mary. She had an enormous doll's house with working lights. There was a horse called Paintbox in the field at the bottom of her garden, and she was the eldest child. So, we're on the pier, laughing, trying to be clever, seeing ourselves as merely ironically putting money in Dr. Rennerby's astrological machine. It looks like a weighing machine, but with green-tinted swirling illustrations of the star signs. Mary is older than me, and I feel she will never let me forget this. She's Sagittarius, and I am Capricorn. We wait for our tickets to burp out, the wind in our hair, salt and vinegar fresh on our lips from a shared bag of chips. We are definitely, intelligently not taking this Dr. Rennerby seriously. It's highly ridiculous. It's a slot machine, and yet, in a shoe-shifting, focused way, we wait, strangely suspended above the sea, frilling on the pebbles far below, held up by a latticework of rusting metal. Mary has an archive of her life, carefully glued into scrapbooks. In the future, we will notice that she has kept my ticket and lost hers. We giggle, talking non-stop, too loudly, changing the world in every way we can possibly think of, interrupting each other, swearing, smoking the damp, loosely rolled spliff out of her attic window and drinking neat whiskey out of bright picnic beakers. We know nothing. It's all ahead of us. We know everything, and we wear the wreckage. We hate men, and we adore them. We can't stop ourselves. We both love and hate our new comprehensive schools. We're readers, we're thinkers, budding intellectuals. It's 1975, and we're inside the wave, the tube of the surf, of change, of growth, of feminism. The following day, Mary's mum drives us to Seaford. It's a pebbly beach and a stormy day. We've driven past Newhaven and the port and trails, the warehouses and railway lines. We're going to go swimming at the beach, but it becomes overcast, and then crack, the sky's going black. Still, we have our swimming costumes on under our clothes, so I go on my own. I insist. I suppose I'm desperate. Coming from beachless, sealess London. Mary and her mum stay in the car. Her mum looks puzzled. As I hobble run over the ridges of pebbles towards the waves, I shout out because no one can hear me, throw off my outer clothes and plunge right in and under. The sea. It's warmer than the air, and the rain makes me feel drunk, buffeted. I'm jumping, yelling, flailing around, and the sky cracks again and rumbles nearer, darker, stronger, and I'm part of the music of no music, of harmony and disharmony, of sun and storm. The sky reflects how I feel perfectly. In the car we have hot coffee from a flask, and I steam up the windows. I feel that somehow I'm not a virgin anymore. The storm, my wild engagement with it, makes me think clearly and for some reason say out loud, my childhood is over. So I'm just thinking that probably it's not a very good idea to go swimming in a thunderstorm, in fact, which might have been why Mary's mum was kind of looking puzzled. Yeah. I'm a very determined wild swimmer these days. So was that difficult writing about? Yeah, no, it was fun actually. There's some more gruelling chapters. I live in a little terrace cottage, and I've got a little garden, and I've got a shed in the garden that's just like pretty empty except for just being able to sit down on the floor, get the laptop out, no internet, no phone, just electricity for the laptop. I can get some music on. So I would go and write in there and then kind of come in for lunch and think, okay, I've been to Italy today, or been to India today, or got married today, or, you know, nearly got killed yesterday, or whatever it was. I found a kind of way of doing that and leaving it there. But no, I actually like writing. It makes me feel kind of more alive, and a bit like going swimming in cold water makes you just feel like, yes, you know, like, okay, vitality time. So I do really enjoy that. It's also tiring. A lot of people think, oh, you're a writer. Well, that's easy. You just sit around, you know, or look out the window or what have you. Or, you know, it's not exactly hard work. Actually, it's tiring in a good way. A bit like doing good gardening or something. Or, you know, it's tiring. And you feel that you could have then earned your, you know, downtime. You're sort of enjoying yourself time. I don't know if you want another reading or if you'd like me to kind of answer some of these questions. I've got some questions here. If anybody else has got any questions, just bring them on, you know. This is quite a weird experience, I have to say. I'm not 10 in my bedroom on my own, you know, with my hairbrush pretending that I'm being interviewed on the radio. I am doing this. It is for real. Yeah, I've got some questions, so I'm going to, that very kindly Helen from Forum Books has written. So I'm going to try and answer them. And if you've got any, just, you know, please do ask me. Why did you decide to write Watermarks? Why now? You've written plays. Did the experience of writing plays help or hinder? writing prose from writing for the theatre is actually quite a revelation, because it's like really freestyling. Do what you want. You know, you can write, you know, long descriptions. You can do dialogue. You can set scenes. You can go anywhere. You can have a bit of a rant. You know, it's pretty nice writing prose, I must say, and I kind of enjoy it. I mean, I write poetry. Again, that's another form. It's got its own sort of sweetness to it. You know, it's a different thing. So I found that the thing that probably helped me from having done playwriting is a sense of, I know I can do this. It's a muscle. So I enjoy, you know, learning and, you know, playing around with it, and yeah, just kind of getting a bit better at it, and failing and carrying on, you know, having a really shit day as well. And I've found that for me, when I have a really difficult day, or I'm like, oh God, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? You know, need another hot water bottle, whatever, another bit of coffee, then I'll write the best stuff. So when it feels sort of too easy and everything's flowing, sometimes it's often quite limp. Yeah, I am I'm going to talk about swimming now, because I do love it. Finding home and solace in nature, deliberate or accidental, as many of us in lockdown have discovered the outdoors. Have you been able to swim every day? Well, I think I am at liberty to tell you that I have. I live really near a beach. There was a bit of a sort of sticky moment where, if officially in Wales, it became illegal to swim in the sea, which I didn't know about. I wasn't checking. I didn't think that was actually possible. So there was a moment where the police approached me, walked across the beach, and I just said, oh, just had a nice swim. Is there a problem? And they're like, you can't sit down, and actually you can't go swimming, and you can't go paddling. And that man over there with the frisbee doing kind of whatever he was doing, he does a sort of Tai Chi frisbee thing with himself. He's staying on. So it's like, whoa, okay. And then I talked to them about the reasons that I go swimming, which is really health, you know. And they said, oh, I think what you could do, go and ask your doctor for a note. So I did actually apply for a doctor's letter, and I carried on swimming early in the morning to help me with my anger. I felt a lot of anger over this lockdown time. I think it helped me to cool down a little bit and zoom out. So, and I have been aware that I'm very lucky. People in my street have said, oh, can you just go paddling for me, because I can't even go out of my house, you know, older people who are shielding, stuff like that. So, and if you haven't been swimming in the sea ever, or a river, or a lake, or a pond, or, you know, just do it. It's great. And it is addictive, but in a good way. And it does do all kinds of things for your endorphins and your general mood. And it's incredibly good for you physically as well. It's just a massive buzz. And there's a practical question here. If I wanted to go wild swimming, do I need anything special? Permission? Don't know, really. I'm not the right person to ask. There's a fantastic book called Waterlog by Roger Deacon, which is absolutely hilarious read. It's quite an old book, but it's a hilarious read about, and it covers the issue of permission and wild swimming in a very different way. No, I don't use a wetsuit. I'm far too impatient to get one on and off. Some tea, yeah, a cup of tea. I'd take some rooibos with me. I'd say a hat, gloves and scarf and everything in the winter, really good coat, and just don't time yourself. Don't think, oh, you know, I've got to achieve something. Just feel your body, and your body will acclimatise, and it rocks. It just, and you feel kind of connected. And I've got very, very close now, and my beach, I feel, has got very, very close to me. There's rocks and there's trees around there, and there are seals and dolphins that come. And last autumn I saw, when I was actually swimming in October, I was like, it was really high tide, just me, nobody on the beach, nice rocks, the trees, just beautiful. And I was in the sea and I saw this kind of fin. And I'm like, oh, I don't know if that's not a seal. So I was just sort of feeling this presence and thinking, okay. And I just carried on swimming really, and gave it a good bit. It was by the rocks. I just think, okay, give it a good bit of, territory. It's fine. But there was a sense of we were in the same place at the same time. And it came back for 3 days, and I googled it, and it was a basking shark. And I just felt like, wow, fuck, excuse my language. A basking shark has come, and I'm swimming with it here, and I'm just like, whoa. So even though I live at the end of the end, I feel really, really connected in a way by swimming, because water joins up everywhere, and it's inside us and stuff, and people swim and blah blah blah. So I couldn't recommend it highly enough. And if you feel like you want to just go and have a dip, by the time you've gone in and out, often the person who might tell you off for doing it, hasn't actually noticed. But yeah, hot cup of tea, good warm socks in the just common sense really, and a good coat. Where do you feel at home now? Well, I feel most at home sitting outside somewhere, probably where there's a bit of water, by a fire. I just relax then. I mean, come on. And if there's people there, great. If there aren't people there, great. It doesn't matter. It's like, those silences by a fire when there's about, 5 people, 6 people, 10 people, whatever, and you're by a fire, and everybody just goes quiet. And there's this massive fire, and it's just, so that's where I'm most at home. I feel I'm most actually relaxed and in my body, probably after I've had a swim, or I can go for one. And I've got a nice question here. This is to do with a homeschooling question, which Helen noticed recently. Would you rather be able to breathe underwater or walk on it? And she would go for breathing underwater. And me? Well, I'm pondering this question actually, Helen. I'm, both, neither. I have some quite weird dreams where I feel that I can kind of walk. I notice that I have it quite a lot like I'm not on water, but I think I've got a kind of invisible skateboard just off the ground. I told my son about it and he said, you are absolutely bonkers, Mum, but I have it quite often. Breathing underwater probably, because then you could really go exploring and that'll be pretty great. Walking on water, bit exhibitionist really, isn't it, Green issues are very important to me, of course they are. And I've got something that I wanted to read out actually, which about where we are right now with the lockdown and COVID and the global lunacy, which is just a quote from Arundhati Roy. And she's described, I hope this is okay to do this, described the pandemic as a portal, a gateway between one world and the next. We can, she suggests, choose to walk through it, dragging the carcasses of our prejudice and hatred, our avarice, our data banks and dead ideas, our dead rivers and smoky skies behind us. Or we can walk through lightly, with little luggage, ready to imagine another world and ready to fight for it. So I'm with Arundhati Roy on that, absolutely. She says it beautifully. And I think if there's time, I want to read a little bit, which is a little bit later in the book, when I first came over to visit Wales. Travel. You've travelled extensively. If there's somewhere you'd love to visit still or go back to? Well, I've got a really wonderful friend who's Pip. She's a Maori woman who lives in New Zealand, who I've done sort of, she's a real whale woman. She's actually in the book. And I really, really like to go and visit her. And I've got a little half-brother in New Zealand as well. So, but it's like flying. And then I've got one of my kids, my son is in the Philippines. So I was thinking, can I do that, at some point? And now, because I can't do that right now, sort of thinking, well, maybe one voyage. I spent quite a lot of time in India before it got before the internet. I spent a lot of time in the places where there was no phone. The nearest phone was like 4 hours away and stuff. So I kind of like in two minds. I love India, but I don't know if I would again, there's all the ethics of it. I'd like to go to Brittany, to a place called Pont-Aven, where my grandfather was from, because I've never been there, and apparently it was where a lot of the artists used to hang out, and it's near Carnac. And Brittany is really like where I live here. There's lots of words, 800 words in Breton are shared with Welsh, so I'll probably find it quite familiar. So that's the answer to that. Baking. In your Twitter bio, it says do you have a signature bake? Well, I do bake for a local food hub. They grow loads of, you know, veg and stuff, and they're a kind of hub for people baking stuff. So I've made bread, and particularly fruit bread, and I must have made thousands, actually, of onion bhajis, which people really miss. If I go away, they're like, oh, we miss the onion bhajis, you know. So that's a really nice way of being in a community is, oh, hello, Sheila O'Connor from Brittany. Hi. Bonjour, well, bonsoir. I've been... The other thing to stop myself from going mad in lockdown is I've been doing, you know, talking French on Duolingo. So some days I've been speaking on Duolingo to my bloody phone in French more than to actual humans, which is nuts. But yeah, that thing of, I had a period of time about 10 years ago when I had chronic fatigue syndrome and I couldn't really do very much, and then I gradually have improved my level of health. And one of the things, two things, one, singing, where you can go and meet people but you don't have to talk to them really, you don't have to really get too engaged, but you can sing together, classic. And the other one was just baking and making stuff, and then people are eating it and looking forward to it and crossing the street and saying, oh, I like your bread, oh, I missed your bread, or oh, there wasn't any left when I went. So that is very rewarding, actually, to be able to contribute something so very basic. I'm just wondering if I've missed out a question, whether I should go back to any questions, or if anyone else has got any questions. Actually, I'm going to read a bit of I'm going to read this little bit from, yeah, it's a chapter called Bay. It's later on in the book, and it doesn't actually give away to any kind of plot, which I don't really mind, but you might. Okay. And it's in Wales. I don't know if I'll read the whole chapter or just this particular bit. I think I'm going to read the whole chapter, if that's all right with you guys. So, Bay. I basically moved from living in West Yorkshire in inner city Bradford, where I lived for about 20 years, to West Wales. And it was a big decision to do that. So this is kind of like at the beginning. Okay, here we go. I have the audacity to believe that I can leave the darkness behind. And I must say that the darkness wasn't to do with Bradford, because I actually love West Yorkshire and I love a lot about Bradford. It was actually to do with a relationship. I can move away to blue, to green, to where the sea encroaches, to somewhere else. And it is walking on an isthmus, tiptoeing quietly away from the wailing, bawling city to be embraced by nature. Is this allowed? I'm looking for peace and safety. That's the only plan. Space and time to heal, because there's quite a backlog. The first time we arrive in fog is so thick I want to get out of the car to see the road, even though that's illogical and ridiculous. The landscape is invisible. Everything is this thick, white ether, smoky, mysterious. Putting tents up is a surreal act of faith. We sleep. Before I even wake up, Lily and Frank are wading across the mouth of the river to the sea. They come back dripping everywhere, exhilarated, breathless, noisy, and quiet at the same time. There are views that are spellbinding, so you forget everything. Views that unleash you from this lifetime with your name and story. Views that set you free on the wind. You rest your hand on a stone and it goes in and on. There's a connection, peace, place, no place, time, no time. From Penterivan there's such a view. It encompasses the whole of the bay, the mouth of the estuary with boats aslant in the mud sand, and the clitoris of the sand dunes, the breast of the mountain and the shadow of the dragon's back behind it all, backing it up, all of it. Coombes and woodlands, fields and gorse, heather, moorland. There's the sea spread out, Cat Rock like a dagger, signposting Dina's Head that looks like a soft billow, a take-off and landing point of clouds. There's the beach itself, folded rock forms, posts, cars allowed away from the quicksand. The whole sky is open to clarity and perspective, and the whole bay is spread out in front of us. Our tents are somewhere right down over there. We've arranged ourselves in various locations around Penterivan, this burial chamber, in character. Frank has climbed up. Lily is stretched out on a flat rock, and Amber is under the cromlech looking up, examining it. The pimple of the mountain is framed by the stones that barely touch, yet hold the weight of the monolithic capstone. It's megalithic. It's mega. This is a place of both music and silence. We don't feel like tourists. We forgot the camera anyway. We feel as though we've returned, because everything here feels familiar. It knows us and we know it. It's two-way. Maybe somewhere around here is where we need to be. Sunset is coming on August bank holiday. The tide is creeping in, up and up. We're all swum out on the beach, our damp clothes clinging to our damp skins as we swarm around a flask of steaming chai and then tear baguettes apart, dunking them in the jar of olives and sun-dried tomatoes, stuffing them dripping with oil into our mouths, as if our lives depend on it. Today there are cars and vans parked close together. It's crowded. There are people everywhere, lighting fires in the dunes, boiling kettles on stoves in vans, eating chips from town and waiting, clustering, looking out over to the mountain, at the first stars coming out, at the bowl of the estuary at twilight, at the moon rising, and we wait too, not sure why we're here. With darkness, the display begins. In the future, health and safety regulations and insurance concerns will put a stop to all this, but now the pyrotechnic who designs firework displays all over the world, including for the Queen, dazzles this messy, whooping, oohing and ahhing crowd of tourists and smallholders, cabin dwellers and permaculturists, babies on shoulders, teenagers on drugs. The tide keeps coming in like a thief in the night behind us because we're all turned the other way, gazing at the purples and reds and sprays of diamonds and trails of snakes. And it's hard to know whether to concentrate on the sky, where the fireworks explode and dart and shimmer before they dissolve, or the water, where all this is reflected as if in another world, a mirror of this one. I feel like I live here already, in both. I'm not trapped. And behind us the tide creeps up, reaching the wheels of cars and vans. But the fireworks have taken over the landscape, the waterscape, the headspace. There's the scent of wood smoke and homegrown weed. The tide doesn't care about fireworks or people. The tide doesn't care about vehicles. The tide waits for no one, ignores everything. So when it's all over, the show, the banging, crackling, sky-shattering extravaganza, there are people arguing, children wailing as they try to get their vehicles out while the sea laps around their ankles. The sensible people parked up on the hill by the golf club. The patient sit and wait it out. The tide, the crowd, the panicking, this weird traffic jam in the middle of nowhere. We're quite, by chance, sensible and patient. We look out to sea again and back at the mountain and the shadows of the boats bobbing up and down in the water as the estuary fills up. We look at the moon looking back, knowing we're in some kind of allegory, up to people's ankles, knowing that for now the tide always turns. So that's a bit later on, but it's sort of, it was a turning point in my life to know that I needed to be here and kind of start afresh. And yeah, I've lived here for almost 20 years now. So I don't know how long we've been going on. We've been going on for ages. Does anyone want to ask any questions, or can I say something else I've written down? Anything? Yeah, I've probably been babbling on quite a lot, really. I feel like we've cracked it there. Obviously, I'd really like you to read my book if you get the chance. You know, if you can't afford it, you know, go order it from your library. For goodness sake, we need them. I'm dying for my library to be open again. They were so kind when on the last day before it closed. They said, "Oh, we know you. Just take as many books as you like, and we know you'll bring them back." So I've got about 30 books here, and I will take them back. I mean, I do. Libraries and bookshops are my also places where I feel really at home, and I also go into your lovely bookshops and sit down and snuggle and enjoy, because they are places where you can kind of be social and alone, and it's kind of allowed. So I hope you've enjoyed this evening. I think I might reward myself with a glass of wine now. You might have had yours already, because this was a new thing for me to do. But yeah, I just hope you all take care. And in the midst of this very strange, difficult, crazy time, just be true to your centre, you know. Listen within, I think. Thank you very much for having me. And write, sing, dance, swim, live your life while you're here, you know. So thanks for having me, and I'm gonna actually press the finish button now, I think. Thank you very much, and take care.